So now for the second contestant, Stephen Sondheim and his answer to all of Andrew Lloyd Webber's great shows. The Phantom of the Opera, Evita, possibly even something more, with his one-act musical called Passion from 1994. And this is not a very well-known musical. There hasn't been a film adaptation made, possibly yet. Uh, there are, I've seen two versions of it on YouTube. If you can watch the original one with Donna Murphy, this is probably the one I would recommend. She won a Tony for her performance, and she really did everything she could for the character she was playing. So the musical Passion is based on a 19th century Italian novel by an author who's not very well known outside of Italy, Ugo Tarchetti. The title of the novel is Fosca, so the name of the main character. Then it was still in Italy, made into a film, not a musical, called Passione d'Amore, so Love's Passion, which inspired Stephen Sondheim. And as with most of his shows, he wrote both the music and the lyrics, only the book, so the concept was helped by another writer, James Lapine. And this was one of the shows that were received with a lot of praise by the critics, including many nominations and wins of the Tony Award in New York, including Tonys for Best Musical, Best Book of a Musical, Best Original Score, and one for the actress Donna Murphy. But as we'll return to this later, but the audiences were not convinced, and this was not a great commercial success the way that many Andrew Lloyd Webber's shows were, like Evita or The Phantom. So you have to be interested in musical theater to watch that, because it's not the kind of great show that everybody knows. It doesn't have showstoppers like Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, or any of those things. It is not particularly melodic, but I guess it's so interesting, and as almost all shows by Stephen Sondheim is well thought over and well written and very intelligently constructed. Although, as you will see in a moment, it's quite a risk. It's quite a take. And it is a classical story about a love triangle, but this time it's two women and one man. And the man is the young, handsome, beautiful, blonde-haired in many versions, army officer, Giorgio, and two women that he is involved with, Clara and Fosca. And even the names are meaningful. Clara refers to light, to brightness, to daylight, and Fosca, in Italian, this is the name derived from darkness. So what we have is the man forced to decide whether he chooses the love that brings uncomplicated light and happiness, or at least promises to do that, or the love grown out of darkness. And in the very first scene, we meet two of these people, Giorgio and Clara, in bed. They are lovers, they are in bed, and they are singing a duet about how happy they are together. Like they are really, really happy, and this is their dream. They have found love, they can be together, and yes, it's a dream come true. But then the first problem appears in paradise. Actually, Clara is already married, and she's cheating on her husband with Giorgio. So they cannot be together all the time because there is the husband of Clara somewhere. And everything starts to change when Giorgio is sent away from Milan. This begins in Milan. Clara lives in Milan. He is sent away to an army camp outside of the city. So he communicates with Clara through the letters, which I think is again the same technique that Andrew Lloyd Webber uses in The Phantom of the Opera. There are also letters here, but I guess Sondheim really uses the letters better as the technique. So he is lovesick, he is longing for Clara, he is a bit bored, and as he arrives at his new post, he meets the second woman. Sorry. He meets the second woman. Her name is Fosca, and she is the cousin of his officer, of his superior in the army, Colonel Ricci. And we know from the beginning that Fosca is a quintessential unattractive woman. She is very sick. She, according to her cousin at least, she has a terminal illness. Nobody really knows what's wrong with her, whether it's a physical illness or perhaps some mental illness as well. She is quite emaciated and weak and can hardly walk. She's not really young. She's close to 30, so mid-19th century. She's definitely no spring chicken here. She has some sort of history, but for quite a long time nobody knows what kind of history. But there is a whiff of scandal about her. And on top of it all, she is considered to be ugly. Just ugly, unattractive. And if you look at the way that the actresses who play Fosca are characterized, well, they are definitely made to look plain. So Clara, who is rich, well, it's her husband's money, but she uses it, and glamorous and beautiful, is contrasted with this unattractive, not even particularly brilliant. She's no genius like the Phantom, but we have this ugly, ill woman who Giorgio meets at his new post, and he takes some pity on her because she's alone, staying in her room most of the time, and they only meet for meals. And early on, he decides to lend her one of his books, just to amuse her, to give her something to do, because apparently she likes reading. And then they have a conversation about reading, which is one of the most interesting songs in the musical. I will give you the link. And this is the moment when Fosca basically falls in love with Giorgio. like that, instantly and deadly. Uh, they talk about reading. She has this long talk, this diatribe about why she reads and how it is different from the way that normal, healthy, beautiful people read. She does not read to learn something. She reads to escape her life. She reads to live. This is what she says. She wants to live, to imagine life through the lives of the characters in the books. And this is so powerful. This is so intense. She opens up to Giorgio like this. That he is frightened. He is taken aback, and he tries to change the subject. He tries to kind of call off this great passion that she displays towards him, and she pursues him. She becomes obsessed, and she forces him time and time again to do things he doesn't like. To go for a walk with her, to kiss her. She actually throws herself on him and kisses him, and he tries to steer clear from this relationship more and more. And she is not only ugly and uninteresting and plain, she is also incredibly pushy. And this was something that many members of the audience could not really accept. And if you read about the reactions of the early audiences, there were actually shouts from the gallery, like "Die, Fosca, die already," or like something like that. Like people completely not buying into the whole thing, and not accepting the um, the way it develops. Because, um, spoiler alert, but this is an important spoiler. Um, in the end, Fosca manages to win Giorgio's heart. So much so that he goes to bed with her, even though that she is dying. And it's said time and time again, it's not out of pity. He um, fights in a duel for her with the colonel, her cousin, who learns about this scandal and challenges him. They both survive, but they are quite wounded. Both are wounded. Well, the colonel is wounded physically, but he recovers. And Giorgio, you might say, is wounded spiritually. He suffers a mental breakdown, and he is hospitalized in the end. And in the end, he dreams about Fosca, who had died, and he admits that she was the one who really taught him to love, and she was eventually the love of his life. And how does she do that? How is it ever possible for an ugly, uninteresting, not particularly brilliant woman to win the heart and this kind of deep, passionate affection of a beautiful young man who can have anyone? Is it ever possible? We have like the situation in the Phantom of the Opera, but reversed, going against all the stereotypes of the 19th century and of the love relationships. Because, well, in the Phantom, you had an ugly man. He was the ugliest man in the world, but he was a genius. And he was so passionate. And he was brilliant. He had so much to offer. Well, despite all the things that were dangerous about him. But this woman, she has nothing. She has just nothing except for her passionate love. So, could she ever win? And Stephen Sondheim, in the interview after Passion premiered, said that this is something that he wanted to try and show to the audience, that it can happen, that this kind of impossible situation can still lead to love, because this is let me quote from his from the interview. He says that the force of somebody's feeling can crack you open. So, yeah, if you love somebody well enough and passionately enough, you can win. I don't know. For a very long time, I was not convinced, but let's look at it in the next installment.